Jony Ive, the Chief Design Officer for Apple, said that the most important lesson he ever learned from Steve Jobs was how important it is to have a strong, definitive focus and what that really means. So here's exactly what he said. What focus means is saying no to something that you, with every bone in your body, you think is a phenomenal idea, and you wake up thinking about it, but you say no to it because you're focusing on something else. Now, this doesn't just apply to running a multinational business like Apple. It's exactly the same thing that we want to have happening as ourselves, just as individual people working on our own projects, whatever that is, music practice, or anything else for that matter. There's a couple of really important reasons for this. The first is that some of the things that you work on are going to matter way more than others. It's this idea of the 80-20 principle, essentially. So 20% of the stuff that you work on is going to give you 80% of the results. So if you know what it is that really, really matters in getting you to your goal, then time spent on that is much more important than on other things. So although you may be thinking about, hey, yeah, this is a great idea over here, I'd love to do this, it would help. That may be true, but it may be that actually you need to stay focused on this thing you were already doing, because yes, the first one, the distraction, is going to help, but this thing you're already doing is going to help much, much more. And even beyond that, you're going to get much more done. You're going to achieve a lot more when you focus just on doing one or two things and see them through, rather than when you're constantly scattering your efforts between 5, 6, 8, 10, 20 things. So even in this case, let's imagine that they are all equally important. If you say, right, I'm going to take the first two on the list and I'm going to work on them until I've made really serious progress, and then I'm going to do numbers 3 and 4 on the list, the next two, and so on, you're going to get much faster progress than if you try and do all 20 at once. And the other benefit of this is that already when you finish the first two, or when you make serious progress on those, you are seeing results from that really early on, rather than trying to do all 20 together and you're months down the line before you see any results from any of it at all. And by the way, if you're finding this useful, then please click the like button so this video can spread to more people. Thanks. And one of the key things here is that you've really got to know what your goal is, because when you know where you're aiming for, that tells you what are the really essential things that you must have in place, and what are the other things that are nice, but yeah, they're just nice to haves. So think of it as though you're driving a really fast car, for example. Now, it may be that you can drive this car incredibly fast, but if you don't know where you're going, you can make huge amounts of progress in totally the wrong direction and end up miles away from where you actually want to be. And so this is what's going on here. It's that focus on the right things that make sure you stay on track, on the right path. And in that case, you might have a much slower car, but someone who's driving it, who really knows where they're going, make sure they stay on the road, make sure they don't get distracted by wanting to go off and visit other things that seem nice. And they'll get there to the destination much faster than someone in a faster car, but who loses their way. And I also talked about doing things one at a time or two at a time, rather than trying to do everything at once. This can really matter when doing things in the right sequence is important. Again, think about the fast car. Imagine you're going through some sort of rally race. You've got to go through checkpoints, and you go through them all, but in the wrong order. That's not going to work. You're going to get to, say, the 5th checkpoint as your first visit, and they're going to say, no, stop, go back to the first one before you can come here. So again, being clear on where you need to get to, and maybe there's a sequence of steps you need to do. Maybe it's not as simple as you do all these things and it doesn't matter which order you do them in. Sometimes it really makes a difference which ones you do first. And again, having the fastest car available is not going to help you if your focus isn't good and you stay focused on, let's do the first thing first. What's the next one? Okay, right, we'll do that one next. Doing it in the right order, again, is going to get you the results you want much better than just zooming around with no clear idea of focus and constantly changing your mind. Now, of course, you do want to have that really fast car as well as the strong focus on your goal. And in this analogy, the fast car is essentially like being effective in your music practice. But that is not the topic of this video, so I'm not going to go into that here. If you do want to go deeper into that, then check out my course Practice Multiplier, which will tell you all about that. And I'll put a link in the description below for you, just in case you're interested. And back to the subject of focus, though, there is a problem you're going to encounter when you do this. And that is that it hurts. You are going to feel pain at not doing all the things that you want to do. When you stay totally focused on that one thing that you want, you are going to feel pain just from a little bit of boredom, perhaps from sticking with it when you could shift to other things, but also just from that fact that these are things you want to do. These are exciting things. These are all things that you would love to be getting involved in. And you are going to have to tell yourself, no, I could be doing all these things, but I'm going to choose to focus just on this one thing. And this is something you're going to have to get used to. And even more than that, be aware up front that it is coming, that it is going to happen, because you will find it much easier to deal with it when you're aware this is going to be the case and you're prepared for it, than if you set off trying to be focused and suddenly are surprised by the fact that it's a struggle. And in fact, in this way, you can actually see it as a good thing. I would like to look at it, see it as a sign that you are on the right track. When you feel that pain, that you want to be doing other things, that you wish you could be taking on more stuff, that you feel, do I really have to stick with just this one thing? That is a sign that you are focusing enough. And I would say, actually, if you're not feeling that sort of discomfort or outright pain, then you probably are not being as focused as you could be to make the progress that you want to make. And now that you know all this, you still need to get clear on your goals and how to prioritize them. So this video here is going to show you why you need both goals and a longer term vision, and how to combine them for the maximum effect.